Welcome to The Difference. Today we have a special episode designed to bring you some great vacation ideals for the summer.
That's right. You know that each and every summer you're always looking for that one spot you want to go but might not have the time to travel to. Well, today we've brought in a local expert, Chet Garner, who has the opportunity to share with you some things about the great state of Texas that you might not know. As a matter of fact, if you're local, you're going to want to discover these revelations. If you are out of state, you're going to want to know that these are the reasons why people from the thousands have been moving to Texas since the 1800s. Welcome, Chet Garner, to The Difference. How are you?
Oh, so good to be here with y'all.
Glad to have you.
It's true. I think we share in common. I mean, this is heaven on earth. Right?
Absolutely.
This is as close as we get.
I mean, God did this in the sixth day, and then he rested because he's like, I just got to take a break. Texas is that good. When it comes to Texas, a lot of people, they move here, but they're not native to here. Are you a native Texan?
Oh, absolutely.
Come on
Yeah. I'm trying to do the genealogy. It's 6th or 7th generation, something like that.
And where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Comanche, Texas, raising goats out there. And then but grew up in Port Neches, Texas, which is Port Arthur. It's stuck down there. It's
behind the pine curtain.
Yes, indeed. It's back there, where the mosquitoes will pick you up and carry you off.
Yeah, the state bird of Louisiana has migrated to Texas.
Along with the crawfish and the boudin and all the good food.
Correct.
Too. So, I got a good mix of sort of your cowboy country and then your Cajun country down there, and then ended up kind of settling here in Central Texas.
Well, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's unique about Texas that a lot of people who don't visit here or understand much about the culture really understand is that it's kind of 4 regions within its own state, if 4 is all you wanted to number.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got about every country in the world right here, except for, maybe northern Canada. We don't do dog sledding very well, but other than that, one of my jobs in college was to work at the film commission, and people from all over the world would call in and say, we want to make a movie in Texas, but the movie is set in, you name it, the Black Forest of Germany, the swamps of Louisiana, the mountains of Afghanistan. And I'd go to a file cabinet and be like, oh, you need that? I got 5 of them. Where do you want to go? And you could send them. I mean, Texas could double as anywhere on the planet.
And when you talk about your history in school, it's rather diverse. You started out with an idea of being in film, and then you decided to go to law school.
Like film majors do.
Yeah, absolutely. Was that parking ticket related or what?
I think, I loved school. Naturally curious person. And if you watch the show, I'm always out there. I just like learning. And so I knew I had a few more years of school in me and figured, what's something that I could do that'll always be a decent safety net if the film thing doesn't work out. I was like, law school sounds kind of fun.
All right.
Little did I know.
Yeah. So you finished law school at Baylor. And so you got 2 good Texas schools under your belt. You got UT and Baylor there.
Yeah, it's not bad. Whichever football team's better that year is the one I get to cheer for.
Absolutely. Well, anyway.
I think, we don't have to get too far into it, but it looks like I'm going to be cheering for UT for the next few years. And so Baylor may have taken a step back.
So you and your wife are there post-law school, and you say, hun, let's take a camera and hit the road.
Daytripper.
People always ask, how was Laura, my wife, with you stepping away from a law job, a high-paying law job, just to go out and make a show about barbecue and swimming holes.
And I'll forget her. How was her dad?
Yeah. I think they were actually more shocked when I said I was going to be an attorney than when I said, okay, I'm done being an attorney.
They're like, I knew it.
That wouldn't last. I mean, that kind of goes back to the faith. I believe we're all kind of, God's got a plan for us, and it's a matter of us kind of figuring it out. Like, okay, where do all these things line up? My talents, my passions, my calling. And then that's what you're supposed to do. And the money thing got to work out later. You've got to just find that calling.
Absolutely. Well, and if you pursue resources, I find that you find yourself so unfulfilled because you can't ever get enough.
Absolutely.
But if you pursue a passion, whenever you're done that day accomplishing that passion, it's one of the most gratifying feelings. You might be tired, you might be wore out, but you're satisfied.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They say, you love what you do, you'll never work a day of your life.
Absolutely. So you love being a day tripper. What is a day tripper?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. What's a day tripper? Let me take a step back and give you guys a little more context. So I grew up in Texas, traveled the state a lot, and then got to college and did that thing people do, like, I've seen my backyard. I want to go over the world. And so I had a lot of opportunity to go see places in Asia, multiple backpacking trips in Europe. And it occurred to me over there that I had made all this effort to go across the pond to do these things that I thought I was supposed to
see the world.
The place you got to see before you die, only to find out that I liked the stuff in Texas better.
Yeah.
And then you go and you start talking to people about it, and you find sort of there's a gap in information. They didn't know all this stuff was out there. And I thought, well, I'm going to be the herald for all of this. And if no one else is going to make a show about barbecue and swimming holes, I guess I have to.
And you're going to be the voice that filled the void.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to teach people that, these life-changing adventures or these, family memory-making experiences don't require time off of work or giant pockets full of money. They're literally like 45 minutes from your back door.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do was teach people that, adventure is closer than they ever dreamed. And all it takes is just literally just get in your car and go. So that was a day tripper to me. It's like, you can pack so much into a day. I'm going to start telling people about it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I find about the concept of being a day tripper is it's really kind of an old school idea, because there were families that's all they could ever do. Travel was not, really that accessible. 50 years ago, the idea of a family going to Europe, forget about it. You weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
And so people just got in the car. When I was a kid, we used to take what we called snake farm vacations, where, between our house in San Antonio and my grandmother's home in Channelview, Texas, as long as my dad could afford to do it, we got to do it. And so, that was our vacation. We were driving to Grandma's house because he's going to go see his parents. But, between San Antonio and Houston, there's snake farms and there's license plate collections. And there's, there's the world's largest pocket knife deal. And as long as the sign said kids under 12 get in free, Dad would just do a U-turn. Come on, kids, we're going to go see this.
But aren't those some of the greatest places?
Exactly. And that's where, as a family, we really, grew together. We had all these adventures together. Yeah. And when we get together now with our kids, we tell those stories, and they might get to go on really dynamic vacations that, when we were kids, we dreamed of. And they're like, can you take us to the snake farm? And you're like, you want to go where?
That's right. I think there's a simplicity of experiencing all the stuff in your own backyard that kids crave, and they want the time with their parents. They just want to be with somebody. Vacation is really doing something new, something outside of your normal day-to-day rut. And that easily fits in a day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about some ideas that you might not know about in your backyard that'll give you memories that'll last a lifetime. We're also going to look at some local fare that I assure you've never tried. As much Texas food as you've eaten, you haven't seen anything like this before. Right. We'll be right back with Chet Garner. After this, you're watching The Difference.
Dear Pastor Hagee, I just wanted to write you to say how honored Rayla Jean and I are to have been partners in your ministry all these years, and to see all the amazing things you've accomplished around the world with the gifts we and others like us have gladly given over the years.
I want to thank you for making it possible for us to preach the gospel to the nations of the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Become a partner today. Call the toll-free number or visit jhm.org.
The Sanctuary of Hope will be home to hundreds of young people. They don't know any other home. They don't know any mother and father other than the ones they had at the Sanctuary of Hope. We will build apartments for them where they can come on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so that this will be their home in every sense of the word for the rest of their life.
Phase 2 of our building project is underway. The lots that are behind me will become loving Christian homes to mothers and their children.
I ask for your help in building these homes for the unborn and the rejected. Your gift, no matter the size, truly matters. Call the number on the screen or go to jhm.org.
Welcome back to The Difference. We're talking with the Daytripper himself, Chet Garner. Chet, in all of the travels that you've had around Texas, you always find something interesting. and without question, there's a lot to be seen in all the little, towns and business loops of the FMs and back roads of Texas, from east to west, north to south. But there are certain things in Texas that are unique to Texas and nowhere else.
Texas only.
Oh, that's 100% true. Yeah. And I'm learning new stuff every day. The common question is, have you run out of towns yet? And I'm like, you have no idea.
Absolutely. What's one of the most interesting things you've seen in your time being the Daytripper?
Oh man, well, I brought some souvenirs we can jump into.
Sure.
I know what that is.
You recognize this. Have you ever heard of Nakona ball gloves?
I've heard of Nakona, Texas. Now they're famous for boots, right?
Famous for boots, but also ball gloves. This is the last American-made ball glove company here for America's pastime. Yeah. We got one left, and it's made in Nakona, Texas. Nakona boots are very famous, but these guys can do just about anything in leather. And so I never had a Nakona glove growing up. Yeah. But once you see the factory, and they're 25 different hands have pulled the leather and stitched the leather.
So
on
it's
this
all
thing.
hand strung and hand
awesome.
done. And all the other big name companies that you see in sports stores and everywhere else, they're no longer American made companies.
That's true. That's right. The company may be based here, but the gloves have often been shipped somewhere else.
They've been outsourced, but this one is in the city, where it even smells like
and boots. Boots too. These are I got these in Nakona, Texas. So there's one really off the shelf bootmaker left in the state, and that's these guys in Nakona, Fenolio boots.
Now time out. These are Little's boots, and these are made by Dave Little down on Division, and he makes them off the shelf himself.
Well, but could you walk in and say, hey, give me an 11 in those? Or he's going to say, let me size you, and in 2 years, I'll ship your boots to you.
He's got several pairs made in several sizes, and they probably were made for somebody else, but if your foot can fit in them, you can have them.
Yeah. So there's some, artisan custom boot makers still left in our state. But if you want, a more reasonably priced off-the-shelf thing, then this is your company.
In all my years of living, I argue two things: the Bible and boots. So
you clearly know your boots. And a good pair of custom boots. I mean, you can do anything. You could jog. Yeah. You could jog a marathon in them, and they'll
absolutely.
Feel just right.
I'm planning on giving them to my grandkids.
There you go.
Tells my sons don't bet on it. They're still mine. So what else have you dug up?
The pop quiz. Do you know the official gem, the gemstone of the state of Texas? This was a hard one. All right, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Quartz?
It could be. No. And this looks like quartz, but this is blue topaz.
Blue topaz.
Blue topaz. And there's only one county in the state where you can find it natively, and that's Mason County.
Really?
And so I went out on a rock hunt and found this thing. And, it was pretty cool when you pull a piece of real topaz out of the ground. Monetarily, that's not that valuable.
Yeah, but I mean, it's part of nostalgia and the official state, stone.
Exactly.
I told Kendal it was cubic zirconia, but anyway. So you've got, the official state stone and then, handmade gloves. What have you found for food?
Oh, gosh, food. I mean, and I say this, I've eaten all over the world, and the food we have here in Texas is the best in the world.
Really, a lot of the world comes here, and they kind of morph into their own style.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, we've had immigrants from Germany and Czech, that have
Alsatians and Bavarians and Hispanic cultures.
Yes,
Latino
not to mention
cultures.
every culture in South America. I mean, they've all come here and created these kind of melting pots of dishes. You can find the authentic stuff, but you can find the new stuff too. Yeah. So I grew up in Southeast Texas, and I didn't realize that this was unique to Southeast Texas till I moved away. But have you ever heard of barbecue crabs?
No.
Barbecue crabs.
Well, they're not barbecued at all. You take blue crabs, roll them in a little spicy seasonings, and then you deep fry them.
All right.
And they come out in a pile about this big, and you just you get some crackers and you go to town.
Okay.
I mean, I love Texas cuisine. We're so big, and our communities are so small and sometimes a little bit isolated that they've maintained their own regional cuisine. They haven't been influenced by a bunch of other towns or the culture, like what's hip and new. I mean, these little grandmas and grandpas have been doing what they do for 100 years, and they're not changing.
So whenever you share these stories with people and they get to find out what's in their own backyard, what do you hope is the outcome of that exchange? I mean, do you just want them to go do it, or do you want them to share their stories too?
Well, no, my goal, I want to make a TV show that makes people watch less TV. I want them out exploring.
Yeah.
And so my job is to inspire them. And they may be foodies that are willing to drive 4 hours just to eat at a single restaurant. And that's cool. I've done that before in my life. But we try to hit all the areas. We'll show you a little outdoors, a little culture, a little food. And hopefully somewhere in there, we've appealed to one of your passions to get you and your family in your car and to go out and explore.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. And so I love it when I get feedback from people like, oh, you know, we took a vacation. And I heard this past summer, they said, Chet, you saved me so much money. When my kids watched the Daytripper, we decided that rather than go to Disney, we just wanted to load up the family Suburban and take a Texas road trip.
Sorry, Mickey.
Yeah.
See, I've been trying to convince Kendal to let me rent an RV and head for Alpine.
Oh,
and you know.
What's the holdup, Kendal? That's the perfect vacation.
All 6 of us in an RV with
That's
one
the
back.
dream.
That's it. I'm like, I'm driving. You entertain, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, with trips like that, I think as people get out and they see the world, they see what God has created, it really does connect them in so many ways, you know, in their own spiritual walk to understand, you know, some of the marvelous things that God's done. You know, I mean,
Amen.
When you're out walking through Mason County looking for blue topaz, I mean, you probably see all kinds of things that you just think, wow, you know.
And I believe, and there's a whole spiritual underpinning to all that I do, that, you know, when we're caught in the busy ruts of life, we're so closed off to what God's trying to teach us. But when you can get outside and you can look at creation, or you can just take a small step away from those stressors, that you just open yourself up to hearing a revelation from God. I mean, I know one of the biggest, you know, moments of my spiritual walk was going to the mountains, and you stand on top and you say, this
and it's quiet.
And you're floored, and you say, God, you are so big, you're so powerful. I mean, this was spoken into existence.
Well, and that's kind of how Abraham developed his relationship with God. He was out, you know, he grew up in a city, and in the city there were all these sights and sounds, and there was all these thoughts and philosophies and all these ideas about who God really was. And then God says, get away from there. You know, you come out from among those people and you go sit out here in the solace of the desert, and then I'm going to talk to you. And he takes him outside the tent and he says, look up. You see all those stars? He said, that's how your descendants are going to be. And he said, you see all this sand? He said, that's how your heirs are going to be. And he said, and I'm going to be your God. And you know, my family heritage is very much a Texas heritage. And they grew up in East Texas as well, in a place called Goose Creek that's now been consumed by Houston. So, you know,
I know Goose Creek.
And the long and the short of it is, I asked my grandfather one time, I said, what is it that you know we like about the country much more than the city? That's just always been our family's, you know, heart. And he told me, he said, son, he said, men built cities. And he said, inside the cities, you find the chaos of mankind. He said, God created the country. And he said, out in the country, you just get to hear his voice. And I was like, done.
I love it. I love it.
So
yeah.
I think that made me a day tripper. So,
that's why you go to Alpine.
Yeah.
So
That's
go
right,
and
we're going.
get the RV.
If she won't, will you just roll with me to Alpine?
Let's do it.
You know?
I got shotgun. Let's take off.
You bring the camera, I'll bring the kids, and I promise you ratings will go up.
You take y'all's 4, my 4. We got a reality show somewhere in there.
What are the ages of your children?
Oh gosh, 9, 7, 5, and 2.
And how often do they get to go on these adventures?
When we're filming, there's too much chaos.
Yeah.
What we love to do is go scouting as a family. And so my wife and I will book a trip somewhere we've never been. And the kids are good at just kind of seeing all. So we'll go to the museums, the restaurants, and we're helping to kind of get an idea for the town and then narrow it down to what's going to actually make the show.
And then that way, whenever you say this is a kid-friendly location, it's tested, tried, and true.
Yeah. That's true. Probably is one of my kids melted down there.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
And we used the diaper changing station.
Without question. There are times you just throw money on the table and you look at the waitress and go, I'm sorry.
Done plenty of those. Yeah. Slowly back away. I'm sorry. Done that.
Well, when it comes to backing away, we are getting ready to belly up to a table full of food. Things that I know you want to try, because if you've sat here and smelled them as long as I have, your mouth is watering. You're going to enjoy this next segment on The Difference. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Dear Pastor Hagee, I just wanted to write you to say how honored Rayla Jean and I are to have been partners in your ministry all these years, and to see all the amazing things you've accomplished around the world with the gifts we and others like us have gladly given over the years. Furthermore, it has been so refreshing to see younger generations coming on board to partner with you in spreading Christ's message to the world.
I want to welcome you both to partnership with John Hagee Ministries. Together, we will make a great impact for Christ around the world.
May God continue prospering you in all your endeavors, your dear friends, Ron and Rayla Jean.
I want to thank you, our partners, for making it possible for us to preach the gospel to the nations of the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Sanctuary of Hope. Will you help us change the world one life at a time? To show our appreciation, every gift of $500 or more will receive a framed painting entitled Hope and Liberty. For $1,500 or more, the Forever Free bronze statue. And for gifts over $2,500, a tree planted with a personalized plaque on the Sanctuary of Hope campus. Plus, your choice between the painting or statue as a thank you for your generous support. For more information, call the number on the screen or visit our website.
Welcome back to The Difference. Chet Garner has brought some selections that Kendal and I are familiar with, but you might not be. Chet, let's start with the Puffy Taco.
Yeah, so, the Puffy Taco, a San Antonio icon in edible form.
It's not just a mascot. It's actually a meal.
It is indeed a meal, but there's a couple places credited with inventing that taco.
Have they ever settled the dispute?
No, not really.
Yeah,
not really.
Regardless, they're really fun, way to eat a traditional favorite, but it's basically a deep fried taco shell.
Yeah, but like a flour masa mix-up taco shell, and it ends up, it's puffy.
Yeah.
And so, as you see, that's filled with some picadillo beef, which is the way to eat it. Slather it with some salsa or cheese if you want. Ain't no wrong way to eat that thing.
Absolutely. Now, the next door neighbor to the Puffy Taco is fajitas.
Yes.
Where are these famous in the area?
Well, okay, so there's, a lot of places where you can get fajitas. And rather than single out a single San Antonio Tex-Mex, just walk down the street, you'll run into 3 of them. And chances are, if they're still open in San Antonio, their food is good. That's what I love about.
Yeah. And if all you walk in to see white people, you're in the wrong spot. Just turn around and back out.
Absolutely true. I learned this. Texas eats 1/3 of the tortillas consumed in America.
Well, that's because we ship the other 2/3 out.
Yeah. Possibly. But, and then we got some corn over here. Truly, if you want to go to the cradle of Tex-Mex, that's San Antonio, Texas. And no other town in the state of Texas can touch that.
Absolutely. So the corn, obviously cheese, chili powder, salt, pepper, and this is like, street food. This is a New York sidewalk hot dog right here.
That's right. You know what I love about Tex-Mex? That's how it all started. I mean, this was poor man's food, often mashed together and, to beef up.
Fajitas is a cut of meat that the butcher would throw away.
Exactly.
He couldn't serve it under glass, and so the local folks would go get the scraps, and they figured out how to turn it into a quality taco. Now they charge it by the pound.
Well, it's the same with brisket. So a brisket was a cut of meat that was so tough that no one could figure out how to cook it other than to grind it up and put it in sausage. And then there was some cowboy who just let it sit on a smoker probably too long. It's like, whoa, it tenderized. What do you know? And now that's the most expensive cut from the cow, other than maybe the prime rib and the ribeye.
And it's the least amount of work for somebody. So where do you go to get barbecue? I mean, as you travel around, there's probably so many signs that say world's best, world's best.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a preference thing, or are there certain things you look for?
Well, I love all kinds of barbecue. I've never met a barbecue I don't like. And even when it's bad comparatively, it's still pretty good, It's kind of like pizza.
There you go.
This is from Two Brothers Barbecue, which is one of San Antonio's phenomenal barbecue joints. What I love about barbecue, it varies a lot by region. Central Texas barbecue is very different than South Texas barbecue. And then where I grew up in East Texas, it doesn't get served without sauce covering all of it.
Absolutely.
That's just the style for them. But the people in Central Texas will say if you sauce it, you're trying to hide something.
Well,
no sauce.
One thing about barbecue is it kind of, to me, it's a bridge builder, because like you're talking about Two Brothers. If you walk into that restaurant, you'll see business suits and you'll see t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops.
Yes.
And they're sitting down just a few feet from each other, both of them enjoying the same meal.
That's right.
And it brings people together. Something that
Absolutely.
might not bring people together until they find out about it. What are we looking at here?
All right, so this is sort of an example of how San Antonio's, food scene has really grown. So these are twice fried chicken wings with crab fat caramel drizzle all over them.
Twice fried crab fat.
Crab fat caramel, peanuts, and some parsley on them. So these came from a place called Hot Joy, which is in Southtown, just south of downtown.
Okay.
You walk into this place, it feels like you just stepped into an Asian dream. I mean, it's a mishmash of all the Asian cultures, and then they come up with dishes like this. So if you're brave enough, you can take a bite of one of those.
Are they all the same?
Yeah, all the same. Some of them may have a little more crab fat on them.
I'm watching my cholesterol.
Well, I've been a gluten-free vegan, and I'm getting ready to backslide. So,
how's that?
Does it taste just as good as what you expected?
You know,
is it a little bit?
That's awesome.
There's an anointing on that crab fat.
How do you get crab fat? That's what I'm.
You just got to squeeze them right. Yeah.
And
then
who would mix it with chicken? It's delicious.
It is delicious. And of course, some Texas sweet tea, because you got to have it.
Yeah.
Especially in the summertime.
I don't want to ruin my crab fat.
I brought y'all another dish too. It's sitting here cooking in the microwave. Some Daytripper shirts.
Awesome.
We love shirts.
They're very good as napkins when you're out tripping.
No,
so there you go.
I love it. Daytripper.
And then here's day tripping for you.
Oh, here, that one's for you. Thank you. That's awesome.
They double as barbecue napkins.
Yeah, a few more crab fat wings, and I'm not going to fit in that. But, with summer just coming around the corner, or, really upon us, people who might not have made plans, the good news is it doesn't take long to make plans to take a day trip.
Not at all.
If they want to find out more about how they can stay in contact with you and the work you're doing, how do they do that?
All right, thedaytripper.com, our website. And if they're looking for travel ideas, we've got everything boiled down into a trip guide that they can just look at it. People pull it up on the road and say, I'm in Bernie, where do I eat? Mary's Tacos,
Hey, come on now.
Yeah.
Have you met Mary?
I have.
Yeah. Any place where you hear the hands clapping while they're making tortillas, you're in the right spot.
That's right.
Yeah, life is filled with long days and short years, and one of the things that I can promise you is you will never regret a day that you invest in those that you love. You're probably surrounded by them, and you might be so overwhelmed you don't know what to do. Get them in the car, take a day trip. It'll make a difference. Chet, thank you for being on the show today.
It was a pleasure, guys.
We'll see you again very soon.
Lord Balfour presented his declaration to grant the Jewish people a homeland that we now call Israel. Double Jubilee is happening as we speak. We are living in a Jubilee year right now. Something very, very special is going to happen. I would not be surprised if the embassy was moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
For I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
I call on all countries that seek peace in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
God's clock is ticking.